Shut up and sit down.
Shut up and sit down. It's time to go to school with the Wrestling Bros. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm the older wrestling bro.
And my name is Brett. I'm the younger of the two wrestling bros. And today we are here to discuss with you the upcoming WWE pay-per-view Backlash on June 14th.
That's right. We're going to be talking about what matches are going on, what the build-up is, and mostly just kind of what our predictions are going to be for this card, that they're building to be the greatest show, having the greatest match ever. Oh God, where do we begin?
Yeah, that seems like a troll job to me. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even see Edge tweeting about the greatest coffee ever, so I think it's a troll job.
We are recording as of June 10th right now, so we are just less than a week away from Backlash. Let's do the rundown of the matches so far that have been announced, and then we can go over matches that are probably going to be announced and have not yet been announced. Starting at the bottom of the card, where it should be, we've got Sheamus taking on Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, Jeff, wow. Can you say not exciting?
Then we have the United States Championship match with Apollo Crews facing the former U.S. champion in Andrade.
That one is going to be a little bit more interesting for my money.
Yeah. Then we've got the Women's Tag Team Championship match. The champions Bayley and Sasha Banks taking on Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, and as well taking on the Iconics Billie Kay and Peyton Royce in a triple threat women's tag team match for the straps. That one I am excited for, Brett.
Yeah. As much as I haven't liked the Iconics in the past, they are starting to get better in the ring, particularly Billie Kay. And it was you, Wrestling Bro, that pointed that out to me. And going back and looking, I actually went and looked, and I now see your point. She is actually better than she was. But I also do believe that she can be better than she is, and WWE isn't just isn't letting her be better.
Yeah, which is usually the case with anything WWE. Then we have the Raw Women's Championship match. We've got the champion Asuka defending her title against the irresistible force Nia Jax.
No, how do I feel? Oh, geez. I'm just gonna call her Nia Botch.
Nia Botch, all right.
Instead of the irresistible force, she is the inevitable botch.
The inevitable botch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll touch on that a bit more. Then we've got the Blue Universal Championship match. Universal Champion Braun Strowman in a handicap match against The Miz and Morrison. Oh.
That is just nothing more than a thrown-in filler match for them to cover time until they put Bray Wyatt back on TV.
I agree. And then we've got the WWE Championship match. Champion Drew McIntyre taking on the almighty Bobby Lashley with MVP.
I must say that although my expectation going into this match is pretty low, because Bobby Lashley has pretty much been treated like an afterthought until this program, until they wanted to start building him up for this. I do have to say that they have done a decent enough build with getting MVP involved in the storyline and all that stuff to actually make it interesting enough to make me it makes me actually want the match to turn out good. It makes me actually care enough to hope that it's good instead of just thinking of it as oh, this is just going to be a shit match that I don't care about.
Right. I hear you. I'm glad that Bobby Lashley is getting a good push. I like the program they're doing with him and Drew McIntyre. I have good hopes. And then finally, we've got the quote-unquote greatest wrestling match ever, the pre-recorded Edge versus Randy Orton, which there's a lot of layers to uncover there. We'll save that for when we get to it. So let's start off by starting off with also there are two matches that have not been declared yet that I think are going to happen. I think they're going to have Seth Rollins face Aleister Black because they've got to have Seth Rollins do something on the pay-per-view, and he's been wrestling Aleister Black in this program with the whole Rey Mysterio thing. Rey Mysterio is still not wrestling. I don't think he's going to be wrestling at Backlash. So my money is on him facing Black. And then
I would hope it's Black, because if we end up seeing Seth versus Humberto, I'm going to punch the wall or something.
Then again, they might have Murphy face Aleister Black again, or another tag team or something. But I'm pretty sure they're going. If they don't bring Rey Mysterio back yet, I think they're going to have Seth Rollins go against Aleister Black. And then my other prediction for a match that has not been booked yet, I think they're going to have the Street Profits finally face off against the Viking Raiders in an actual match. What do you think about that?
I would say it's about time. How many weeks have they been doing complete non-wrestling segments on Raw in a row now?
It's been about a month, and it's ridiculous. I hate what the WWE is doing with their tag team division. I think that they are wasting their talent with these stupid little vignettes. I think that it's not entertaining, and to be honest, Brett, when I see one coming up, I just fast forward or I change the channel depending on which platform I'm watching the wrestling on. It's not entertaining. It's not wrestling.
No. It's not wrestling, number one, and I know WWE isn't supposed to just be wrestling. They're supposed to be entertainment too, and especially Vince McMahon likes to emphasize the entertainment part of WWE. But it's not entertaining either. There's nothing interesting about it. So I pretty much do the exact same thing you do when it comes to those segments. Just skip them, change the channel, fast forward, whatever. Just get it the hell off my TV.
So since this is a prediction podcast, what if the Street Profits do defend their titles against the Viking Raiders in an actual match at Backlash? What is your prediction for the outcome of that match?
I'm gonna go with the Street Profits for the win here. Just because in terms of their title reign, not that tag team titles mean much in WWE, because they don't, but in terms of their title reign, they haven't really defended them much, and I know that they're talented enough to carry a good division. So I think that they at least should go over the Viking Raiders. The only thing that I understand about all these non-wrestling vignettes and videos that they've been doing over the past month is that they want to try to give the Viking Raiders some more character and or charisma or whatever through doing these skits, because it's obvious, and it's been obvious, that the Street Profits already have enough charisma and mic skills, especially Montez Ford.
Yeah, Montez Ford is amazing on the mic.
Yeah, they don't actually need it. The Viking Raiders are the ones who need it, so maybe that's why they've done all these, but I still don't find them that entertaining.
But oh no, so you're saying that the Viking Raiders will not be winning this match if they actually have a match for the titles?
Yeah, I don't think so, especially with the way they were made to look at the end of Raw. I think it was this past week.
Yeah.
With Bobby
Against,
Lashley getting the full Nelson on him.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree. I think that if they do defend their titles in an actual match at Backlash, I think that it'll be a good match. Hopefully, they have been using this time to try to make the Viking Raiders more likable, and I think that the Street Profits have had the titles for a long time, and I think it's going to need to take a different kind of team to take those titles away from them, because the competitive pool for the Raw tag titles is so shallow. I don't see anyone else taking the titles away from them that's currently on Raw right now. That's just my 2 cents, though. All right, so if they book Aleister Black versus Seth Rollins in a match for Backlash, what's your prediction for the outcome of that match?
If we do indeed see Aleister Black and Seth Rollins, it's kind of a hard call to make for me, just because booking-wise, after the way he's looked and come up short a lot, Aleister seems to need the win, but at the same time, making it so that Rollins takes the loss can damage his whole perception and gimmick a little bit. So maybe there's some screwy finish in there or something like that to justify a loss on either side, just to protect them both from losing any momentum.
To
be honest, they both really need the win here. So
I agree. My prediction, if that is a match that is actually on the card, is that either Rey Mysterio or Dominic or both of them was going to interfere in the match, is going to run down, attack Seth Rollins, some sort of DQ, either a no contest or a DQ finish, to build up to Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio and or Dominic.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty accurate. Like when I threw in there and said some sort of screwy finish, and you just spelled it out.
All right.
You made it pretty easy.
Yeah. Moving on. All right. So, Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy. This feud started off when they started before Jeff Hardy even got to TV. When they started doing intro packages for him during or after Sheamus' squash matches, and it started this feud right away before Jeff got on the scene. And now this whole, hit and run, Sheamus calling Jeff Hardy a junkie, this whole thing, Sheamus supposedly framing Jeff Hardy for the hit and run. Jeff Hardy making that really kind of sad, blown up, out of breath promo at the beginning of SmackDown.
Yeah, that was sad. Yeah.
I voiced my opinion before, but since this is our first podcast, I'm gonna kind of let it go now. I think that Jeff Hardy really needs to either change his style or just work on his cardio, because he can only wrestle for a few minutes before looking horrible in the ring, looking very blown up, like out of breath. Looks like he's in pain all the time, just running around and wrestling. It's just, he's not doing very good. And so this
should take a page out. I mean, it's admitted. It's been admitted by Matt Hardy that when he went to AEW, that he knew he had to change up his style a little bit, and with them allowing him to use the broken character in universe, that gives his whole gimmick more character, so he doesn't have to do more flashy spots to get over, just because he knows it's not the year 2000 anymore. Apparently Jeff Hardy hasn't got the memo.
I'm pretty sure that it's Vince McMahon who hasn't got the memo. But that being aside, my prediction for this match is that obviously Jeff Hardy's going to go over. They've been building this all so that Jeff Hardy can get ahead of steam and get a good, solid run. And unfortunately, I think Sheamus is just in the way. He's the first stepping stone for them trying to push Jeff Hardy. And so my prediction is that Jeff Hardy is going to end up winning, whether it's pinning Sheamus or it's him picking up a DQ and with Sheamus getting all pissed off and getting himself disqualified, and then eventually Jeff Hardy then tussling after the bell rings, and Jeff Hardy walks away with his music playing either way. That's my prediction. What's your prediction?
Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, obviously they've already given us a match with them on TV, and Jeff, and of course this is the whole angle I believe is going on, is that they're having Sheamus set up Jeff Hardy to look like a hit and run accident with Elias. That's the feud. That's the whole crux of the story. So I do believe that Jeff Hardy will come out of this one on top. Unfortunately for Sheamus, because he does need a good win, especially since, they've been trying to push him as a big monster since he got back. He needs the win too. But I think they will end up having Jeff Hardy go over in some form or fashion. I am glad that they took them. They removed Sheamus and Hardy from the Intercontinental title tournament picture, because and when they were booking the tournament and doing the tournament, it was like, okay, they're hyping this Jeff Hardy thing up as his one big last final run, and one would think that if a main event star or somebody you're trying to promote as a main event star is having one big final run, then they want to go for the brand's top belt, not the Intercontinental title. So
well, I see what you're saying there. But they are kind of making the big top belt on SmackDown mostly inactive at the moment, and they're putting a lot of attention on the Intercontinental title. They basically have the two top stars fighting for the Intercontinental title, where they have They're basically taking the Universal title, their top title, and making it a joke match. So I think it's either here nor there, but there you have it. So we both are in agreement that they're going to put Jeff Hardy over.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That's what I see, and hopefully, if they are going in that direction, then we'll get to see Jeff Hardy move on to the Universal title picture, and hopefully that would be against Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, not Braun Strowman, because I think that the potential story of Jeff Hardy versus the Fiend would be a lot better.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So our next match is going to be the United States Championship match. Apollo Crews defending his title against the former champion Andrade. Now for this, I think they're trying to push Apollo Crews. They had a huge to-do about him winning the U.S. title on Memorial Day. They're putting a lot of attention on Apollo Crews now, and so I think that Apollo Crews is going to go home retaining his title, his first successful championship defense that's not messed up in the end with a DQ. What do you think on this match?
I tend to fall in the same lane of thinking there, because I also almost think that where the way you just explained your outlook on them spotlighting the Intercontinental title more, because the Universal title is kind of in the background right now with its ridiculous joke main event of the match. I think that along with trying to give Apollo more spotlight, they're trying to put the U.S. title higher up on the totem pole than it has been in recent years.
I agree.
So I think that they're actually trying on both ends to make their mid-card titles, and I don't really like the term mid-card title. I wish I could think of something better, but you know what I mean.
The tertiary titles.
Yeah, I do think that they are trying to make both of them a little more important, so that they don't have to try and have all their big, good stories rely around their top titles.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is the way it should be, so that's good. I like that they seem to be putting effort in that. I like that they are giving Apollo Crews the fucking spotlight after so long. I mean, they called him up from NXT, 4 years ago?
Hasn't been that long. And they have done nothing with him since, so...
Absolutely nothing. So he's finally getting his shot now. And yeah, so if he were booked to lose the title right back to Andrade, it would just be stupid booking. So I agree. Apollo should win here.
Okay, all right. So we both agree that Jeff Hardy and Apollo Crews are going to be going over. Now, going into the Women's Tag Team Championship Triple Threat match, Bayley and Sasha, the new champions, defending against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss and the Iconics. This is brilliant booking because these three teams are going to be great. It's branching SmackDown and Raw. At first, when the Iconics and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were feuding, I wasn't a fan. Like, oh, that's going to be a boring match. I mean, not to take away from what these talented women and what they can do in the ring, but it was just kind of like, booking, you know.
I felt the exact same way. I was like, oh, it's the Iconics and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. This is just gonna be meh.
Yeah, but now that they've made it a cross-brand feud and added Bailey and Sasha Banks into the mix, and made it it took it from a generic tag team match to a triple threat tag team match for the titles with 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 these three teams. It's going to be fantastic. As for how the match is going to end, I'm having a hard time predicting what the outcome of this match is going to be, and that's fantastic. What is your prediction so far?
My prediction would hinge on whether or not, or I should say, how fast or slow they want to keep this tension between Bailey and Sasha going. Because if they want it to accelerate it to get to their one-on-one feud for the SmackDown Women's title that we all know is eventually coming somewhere down the road, if they want to get to that quicker, then they may have them drop the titles in this match due to some miscommunication or something like that, and add more tension and resentment to the storyline via that way. Or if they want to drag it out a little bit longer, which I'm hearing that might be what they want to do, because their original plan was to do Sasha and Bailey at SummerSlam in Boston, but obviously SummerSlam isn't going to be in Boston anymore. But if they wanted to draw it out a little longer, like the original plan was, then they could easily have Bailey and Sasha cheat to win here, or even just win because they're the best team in the match.
Yeah, I agree.
But
so yeah,
if they did drop the titles for their storyline purposes, I would say that they would probably go back to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. But otherwise, if they're not, if they're not what you call going to be stretching it out, then yeah, I see them going back to Bliss and Cross.
Okay,
but
so
otherwise,
gun to your head, make a decision. Who do you think it's going to be?
I'm gonna go with Banks and Bailey.
Okay. That one's hard to tell. I would have to go Banks and Bailey. It's kind of a hard call, and I'm excited that it's not easy to call this match. But there you have it. Speaking of more women, next we have the Raw Women's Championship match. Asuka having her first title defense against Nia Jax. I want Asuka to go. Sorry, Nia Botch, as you have so eloquently dubbed her. I'm going to go with Asuka for this one. Asuka, I think she's an amazing wrestler, and I'm very happy to see her with the Raw Women's Championship on her shoulder. I think that Nia Jax is just going to be a big fat stepping stone for Asuka. I think that as long as Nia doesn't freaking injure Asuka, I think Asuka is going to win and move on to feud with Charlotte for the next pay-per-view, and then hopefully they bring in Shayna Baszler at some point, and because Asuka versus Shayna Baszler would be an amazing match. But as for SmackDown, I don't see any way possible for Nia Jax to win this match. What do you think?
Yeah, no, there's no way that Nia could unbelievably win this match. Not even in story. I mean, it's just no. It's a big fat no. So, I mean, and Asuka's obviously a better wrestler and a better representative as champion anyway. So I am right there agreeing with you on that. This is basically Asuka's way to get a first defense under her belt before she goes into a major feud with Charlotte Flair.
Cool. Moving on. Next, we've got the Universal Champion Braun Strowman taking on Miz and Morrison in a handicap match. I'm pretty sure we both have an idea of how this is going to end. A similar idea. My prediction for this match is that Miz and Morrison are going to try to pull some pranks here and there. Ultimately, though, they're going to get their asses kicked until a point where the Fiend Bray Wyatt makes an appearance. And then I believe that one of two outcomes. Either Braun Strowman leaves the match to go find the Fiend, or Braun Strowman beats the Miz and Morrison, and then the Fiend attacks, and starting up, because I believe the next big event is going to be Braun Strowman versus the Fiend, because they left the door open after Money in the Bank.
Yep.
But if I had to,
I'm with you on that one too.
If I had to make a definitive prediction, I'm gonna say no contest or DQ win for Braun Strowman. It's not gonna be a pin, but the title is not gonna change hands.
Yeah, I agree that the belt's not going to go anywhere. Obviously, Miz and Morrison are not going to become co-universal champion.
Although that wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad if they did, but that's not gonna happen.
No, I'm not thinking that it wouldn't be bad. I'm thinking it would be, but not because of them, but because of the way they've been portrayed on TV.
Yeah,
if they'd been portrayed better, then they might be more believable as co-champions. But either way, it's not happening. Strowman is gonna walk out of Backlash with the belt, with the Fiend right over his shoulder, stalking him on wanting the belt back. And I'm guessing that they're gonna have Miz and Morrison throw everything they can at Strowman and use cheap tactics and pranks and whatever. And in the end, Strowman's just gonna end up running through them. Of course, he's gonna get his inevitable spot with the running train around the ring. And one of them's going to get power slammed and pinned. And then I think, like you said, we'll see the Fiend after the match is done.
We'll see the Fiend? Yeah. So you're saying that Strowman is going to get the win, and then the Fiend's going to attack? Or show up or something. Okay. All right. That's kind of where our opinions differ. I think there's going to be a no contest or DQ. You think there's going to be a definitive win for Strowman. All right. Either way, I'm excited to see the Fiend again. It's been far too long since we've seen Bray Wyatt on SmackDown.
Yes. Although I do understand why at the moment, but he is missed regardless.
Yeah. All right. And then we go to the WWE Championship match. Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against Bobby Lashley with MVP in his corner. So, in my mind, there's no doubt about that. Drew McIntyre is gonna. He's not. There's no chance that he's gonna lose this match. He
You know,
he he is the new face of the WWE. He is the star of Raw, and they've
he's
built up this match quite well. But there's no way that Drew's gonna lose his first big defense. I see Bobby Lashley getting Drew McIntyre in the full Nelson and making it look like he might tap out, but in the end, Drew's going to get his way out and is going to give a Claymore or two to Bobby Lashley. He's definitely going to give another Claymore to MVP, and he's going to pin him for the 1, 2, 3. What do you think?
Yeah, we're gonna be going to Claymore country in a Backlash. It's gonna be Claymore time again with the countdowns and all. The way they've built this match, I'm surprised to say that they've done a halfway decently job building this match and program, especially considering how they've made Lashley look in the past. So to make him look like a legit enough contender for Drew McIntyre, I think they've actually done a pretty decent job, because if this had happened, even a few months ago, I would have been like, who cares? But
Right.
they've actually gotten it to the point where it could actually be a decent match, and I hope it is a decent match. And I do also think that we will see Lashley get McIntyre in his full Nelson, and I think that Drew will get out of it, break the full Nelson, and get the Claymore kick. And maybe since they've been pushing Bobby as much as they have, perhaps it will take more than one Claymore kick to put him down, but he will be put down.
Side note, is it just me or does Bobby Lashley have the best spear in the business right now?
Yeah, he's got a really, really good spear, and he does it with lots of intensity.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other wrestlers, not just now, but in the past, in the past 20 years, there's lots of other wrestlers, probably too many, that have the spear in their moveset. And Bobby Lashley is probably the best one since, 90s Goldberg.
Yeah. I think for me, the top three people who did the best spears are probably in no specific order because I have to spend more time doing research and watching more videos. But it's definitely late '90s Goldberg, late '90s Rhino, and nowadays Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, that's a really good take.
Speaking of the spear, we move on to the quote-unquote greatest wrestling match ever, which was taped, on the 7th? They did the taping for that already?
I believe that's when it was taped.
Edge versus Randy Orton, which they've been hyping so much. It's supposed to be the greatest match ever. They've had Ric Flair and Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. And who am I missing? There's some other people as well. Come in and Christian comment on who's gonna win between these two, as if Edge and Randy Orton were the two most technically sound wrestlers to begin with. Which they're good, they're great. They're not the greatest. No way in hell are they the greatest. So what do you think? What do you think about this match?
Yeah, they're definitely, neither one of them are the greatest wrestlers ever. Therefore, they are incapable of delivering the greatest match ever. So, unless this is just purely a troll job from WWE, which I am honestly starting to believe it is, unless it's a troll job from WWE, then there's no way possible it can live up to the hype that they've given it, and which is why it's foolish of them to have put this much pressure on it.
Yeah.
Appropriately at a show entitled Backlash, because when it doesn't live up to the hype, there will be some backlash. I can guarantee it. But aside from the troll job that is the greatest wrestling match ever, if you just put all that aside and consider it as Edge and Randy Orton, two great wrestlers and performers who have great chemistry in the ring, and also factor in the fact that it is Edge's real first actual wrestling match back since he's returned. I think they are going to do a very decent job of for a match. They are going to entertain us. It won't be the greatest match ever. It can't be the greatest match ever, but it will be entertaining.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were entertaining with everything they did in their careers, pretty much. Whether it was rated RKO, when they were together against DX, or whether it was when they were apart with Edge and Christian and Randy Orton and Evolution. Both of them have had great careers, and they're both great in the ring and on the mic. So they're going to deliver a great match. It's just sad that the WWE has labeled it the way they did, because now it's inevitably going to be something that people look at as failed, because they're not going to deliver what WWE promises out of it. But I believe that Edge will win this one, because he pretty much needs to win for this story to go the right way. Because the whole point that Randy Orton is trying to make is, yep, you beat me at WrestleMania, you beat me in a last man standing match, but you still haven't actually had a wrestling match. And yeah, you can't beat me in one. And Edge is, I think, in the story, he needs to prove to the fans and himself that he can. And so that's the way I believe it will go. He will end up beating Randy Orton via pin or submission to win the match and prove himself to the fans and eliminate whatever doubt they have sowed in him in this storyline.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Depending on what their plans for Edge are in the future, I kind of think that this is going to be their window to put him in an angle. If they're going to... So, part of me hopes that they make him a full-time wrestler again and put him in a feud eventually for a big spot where he can actually compete and not just be, a part-time display. Like, oh, Edge is going to be here. Ooh. He can actually be a wrestler. But a big part of me fears that he's going to go the way of The Rock and The Undertaker and John Cena, where he's going to be a part-time wrestler. And I would rather him go the way of Daniel Bryan, where he actually becomes a full-time wrestler and they utilize him. And if that's so, if that's the case, where they actually utilize him as a full-time wrestler, this second match with Randy Orton could be the practice he needs in the ring with someone he knows very well in the ring to get to where he needs to be to hit that highway of actually performing with the current roster. That being said, Edge is going to win this match, unless they're going to make a third match with him and Randy Orton down the line, which I think is a mistake if they do that. So I guess my prediction for this match is that Edge is going to win, but it's going to take a lot out of him. I think it's going to take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for him to push through that ring rust ceiling, and actually beat Randy Orton. I think it's going to be an amazing match, especially since they're going at the point of Sunday. They would have had, let's see, the 7th, so they would have had a full week of post-production editing to take any bad spots away from this match.
Yeah, that may have been something I actually didn't elaborate on as much as I originally intended to. The fact that it has already been taped and they have all this extra time to put in post-production stuff, and it'll take out whatever didn't come out looking good or make something look better. Work that Kevin Dunn production magic that they're so good at.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the best things that WWE does is their production videos and stuff like that. So that's a big advantage in their end. And I do think that they're probably gonna try to put some extra something in for post production to try and help it live up to the build they've given it, but of course it still won't. But they're gonna try, and they're still gonna push their narrative after the match too. They'll probably say, "Oh, that was the greatest match ever."
So now we've got those matches predicted. Given our predictions, this is going to be the third pay-per-view event since the pandemic shut down. Each pay-per-view event since then, we've seen some sort of at least one cinematic match. WrestleMania, we had the Boneyard match, which was fantastic, and the Funhouse match, which was even better. And at Money in the Bank, they had the Money in the Bank match, which is cinematic in its own way and fantastic in its own unique way. What spots in this card for Backlash do you think they're going to using their cinematic magic on, if at all? Do you think they're going to be using this? Using taking advantage of the fact that there's no crowd there to make any of these moments more like those matches I've just stated. I believe that Bray Wyatt as the Fiend is going to return and is going to haunt Braun Strowman, kind of like he did building up to his WrestleMania match with John Cena, and therefore I think that it's going to be they're going to be able to use their movie magic for that, and then they might even put in some movie magic for. I believe that their movie magic to kind of make the Randy Orton and Edge match a little better. What do you think? If they're going to use their movie magic at all, where do you think they're going to use it on the card?
I believe, yeah, for the most part, their editing magic is going to be used on Edge and Randy Orton, for Edge and Randy Orton. As far as any sort of cinematic feel or anything like that, I don't think they're going to go that far with it. I think they're going to start to slow down a little bit with the cinematic matches. I mean, I know they've done a bunch of them because of the state of the world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
But I do think that they are going to slow down on them a little bit just so that they don't get to be kind of like an overused, overexposed idea. Like, to me, I think the next cinematic thing we might see might be between Jeff Hardy and The Fiend, something like that.
Jeff Hardy and The Fiend? Do you think they're gonna put Jeff Hardy and The Fiend in a promo?
Yeah, I think they will, and I think it would be a fun thing to do. Because if you look at what happened and what The Fiend did to John Cena, imagine what he can do with someone who has the personal demons of Jeff Hardy, since they want to make it a storyline.
Wow. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. I would definitely look forward to seeing something like that. So there you have it, folks. Those are our predictions for Backlash 2020. I want to thank you for being patient with us. This is our first official podcast, and our hardware and software we're using is pretty sad. We're using a phone and a headset for hardware, and we're using Skype and Movie Maker for Windows to do the editing. So please bear with us. Hopefully, in the future, we will have some better sounding productions in the future for you. As of right now, we plan to continue these podcasts. We're going to be reviewing Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite. We might even do NXT. I'm less of an NXT watcher than Brett is, mostly because I don't have a whole lot of time to watch every single wrestling promotion out there, and I'm a big AEW fan. Our next podcast we're planning for is probably going to be sometime over the weekend, where we review AEW Dynamite and the Go Home Show SmackDown for Backlash.
Yes, please stick with us through our growing pains here. This, like he said, like Alex said, it's our first shot out there, and this was something that we wanted to try to do because we are both very passionate about the product of wrestling in general, and we'd like to get our opinions out there, and we're just kind of amateurs right now, so please stick with us through the growing pains, and we'll get better with production and sound. I promise you, will happen over time. Thank you for listening to us, and I hope that you... Yes?
I was going to say, please follow us on Twitter, at bros_wrestling.
Yes. Give us a follow on Twitter. The Wrestling Bros, Alex and Brett.
All right. Anything else you wanted to add before we sign off, Brett?
Just a thank you again. If you've reached the end and listened to this whole thing and enjoyed it, thank you. And if you did enjoy it and you think you know anybody else who would enjoy it, feel free to
share links, tweet things, retweet, share, whatever, do whatever you want to do to help get our podcast out there. And as we keep going and keep putting more podcasts and shows together, we'll hopefully only get better and get more people interested in our thoughts on all things wrestling.
Yeah, we definitely want to add to the wrestling community out there. We want the product as a whole to improve, and that's why we're sharing our opinions and our thoughts. But yeah, please like and follow and comment on these videos. That way, any positive, negative, whatever, we're only going to improve if you give us your feedback, please, and thank you. Again, this has been Alex and Brett, the Wrestling Bros. Follow us Twitter and YouTube, and hopefully we'll have more ways to share our views and opinions on a weekly basis in the future as they come to us.
Thanks, folks.